All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Bentonville Battlefield State Historic Site. I'm Colby, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about music and the role that music played during the Civil War and here and during the Battle of Bentonville. Probably one of the most important musical instruments during the Civil War was the drum. So today we're going to focus in on that, and we're even going to make our own drum eventually. So what role did drummers play in the Civil War? Not only did musicians play in camp, and that's just for liveliness and for having fun and for entertaining themselves, but a lot of musicians played during marches and during battles. And for the most part, the musicians playing there are going to be drummers, buglers, and fifers. So bugle is kind of like a trumpet, fife is kind of like a flute. You've probably heard those. If you close your eyes and imagine an army on the march, you probably hear a drum, a bugle, and a fife in the background, because that's just the popular perception of those things. By far the most important part of that, though, is the drum. And you can imagine if you're marching, so if you're marching like 30, 20 miles, really long ways in one day, you need something to keep you energized and to keep you going. Not to mention, the army is all about being regimental, being uniform, and so they have drummers to drum out a rhythm so that they can march in time. And that type of marching in time and marching to a rhythm keeps these soldiers energized and ready to go and ready to move forward. So not only were they doing that on the march, but they're also doing it during battle. And so you can imagine if a soldier is in battle, it's really chaotic, really crazy, really loud. How are you going to hear your commands and know where to go, know what to do, know what's going on? Your commander might be yelling or screaming. You can't even hear him because he's so far away and there's so much chaos and so much craziness. You can't see because of all the fog. There's cannons going off. There's guns firing. There are people charging right at you. It's a chaotic environment in battle. And one of the most important ways that Civil War soldiers used to communicate during battle were actually drummers. And these drummer boys were like 12, 14, 15 years old. They're too young to fight in the army. So they don't give them a gun, they give them a drum instead. I don't understand the logic there, but that's the way they did it. A lot of these young teenage boys are out here without a gun, marching into battle, playing drums. But what was neat about these drummer boys is they could drum out different rhythms to mean different things. So they used them to communicate. So they would have one rhythm that meant charge, one rhythm that meant retreat. Different rhythms meant different things. And so it's just a really innovative use of the drum. So they had things like the long roll, and that would usually mean to charge. Some rhythms, there's different things like that. Obviously, there's only so much I can do with my hand here, but we can play with that and have some fun with that once we get our drums built. So now that we've talked about that, let's go ahead and talk about building a drum. So we're going to need some supplies here. So you can pause this video or come back to it later once you get your supplies. Make sure you have an adult or a parent help you out with this. Some of it is a little bit sophisticated, but it's super easy, I promise. The first thing we need is our drum herself. So this is just a simple vegetable tin can, some type of tin can. You can have a nice echo to it. This is a pretty large tin can. A coffee can will work. Smaller vegetable cans, anything like that will work just fine. Then have an adult or guardian or parent or someone help you remove the bottom of the tin can so that you can see through it like this. That's the most difficult part about this whole process, is just removing that so we have a nice echo. And that's the structure of our drum. We also need a rubber band. For these, if you're going to have a large tin can, you need a fairly large rubber band. But pretty much anything will work. Just a rubber band, some scissors, some glue or some tape or something to hold the paper onto the drum. And then, so this here is like a tracing paper, so a really thin paper, but just regular copy paper will work. Just one piece of just regular white paper. And then, however much construction paper you need, colored construction paper, to decorate the outside of your drum however you want. So those are all of our supplies that we need. So once you get those together, you go ahead and start with the drum itself. And this is a super simple process. Just take the piece of paper and put it right over top of the drum, just like this. And then very carefully fold it over. so that you can kind of create that canvas as tight as possible around the drum. Once you get it folded nice and solid on there, we put the rubber band over top of it. Now this is the part that's kind of hard and you might need some help with it. I'm going to try to do it by myself. But like I said, it can be tricky because the rubber band wants to come off of it. There we go. Just like that. And that's it. It's just that simple. So once you get the rubber band on it, make sure it is nice and tight and secure. It's not going to pop off and the paper is not going to come undone. Just give it a tap. There we go. We got a drum. Just that simple. So the next step would be to cut around this paper here so that we have about 1 inch, and then just get rid of all this other stuff, this scrap paper. Just cut that around. And then here's the creative part. You just take your construction paper and you tape it on there and you glue it on there and you come up with whatever design you want. Drummer boys during the Civil War usually had patterns that were dictated by their regiment, but they had all kinds of cool stuff. They would draw on it, they would write what battles they had participated in. A lot of times Union soldiers had American flags and eagles and things like that to represent America on their drums. So whatever represents you or represents your group, just whatever thing like that you can do. I did this. I like stars and I like orange and yellow, so I put orange and yellow stars on mine. You know, it's something so simple, but I like it. I think it looks cool. So once you have your drum, just play around with it and imagine being a drummer boy during the Civil War. Imagine tapping out these rhythms. Try to come up with rhythms and remember them and imagine what that might have been like. I hope you enjoy your new drum. Hope you don't bother your parents too much with it. Thanks for visiting Bentonville Battlefield. Hope you have a great day.